Let's pick right back up where we left off. In this video, we're going to add the idea of saving data back from the main page, from our HTML, sending data back to our C# in a post method. Okay, so we've done in the input here, because of the form right here, we did a get sending of data, which isn't really secure, and it's something we should be careful on what we do it for. But since we didn't specify in the form tag the type, by default, it is get. So right down here, we're going to actually create a form, so on the same page, and we're going to say in this form that we're going to do a post of a new person. To do that, though, we need to actually have a place to send that person to. So let's come down here after search term. We're going to create a new bind property. We're not going to support get on this, just post, or actually just any verb besides get is more appropriate. So it would support delete, it would support the update one as well, which I'm drawing a blank on what that is. Put, that's what it is. So it'll do post, put, and delete, but it will not do get. All right, so prop, and this is going to be of type person model. Well, let's call this new person. Not the greatest of names, but it does communicate what we need to for this application. Sometimes it's actually better to have a clear name for a demo than it is to make sure it's also would be clear if this is a real application. Okay, so you have this new person model. So now let's create a form on this side. We'll just jump right into it. Let's actually create an H2 tag that just says add a new user, new person. And then inside here, we'll do a form, but we're going to say method equals post. And that says, okay, we're going to make sure this is actually posting data back to our code behind. It's not doing a get command. So we're going to, let's inside here do a div. And we'll say first name, and then do an input. And we'll say ASP-4. And we're going to say new person dot first name. Isn't that cool? So we're binding to, just like we did up here, we bound a search term, which is a property. Down here, we're binding to new person, which is an object. It's a person model. It's not just one thing. It's not a string. It's not an int. It's a person model, which has properties inside of it. So we give it the property we want to bind to on that new person. In this case, first name. I just think that's really cool. I get a little excited. Okay, so first name. Copy it again. Change it to last name. Do a Control-J here to bring up that IntelliSense window and just select last name. And now we can create our input type equals submit, not search. There we go, submit. And now create our form for us. Let's actually give it a value. There we go. So now this has a value, but let's go over and actually create the method to do something once we actually submit it. So we can say public action result on post, like so. And it's saying now I'll code pass return a value, which is fine. And we're returning an I action result because we have to do something once we post the data. Now, if we want to make this asynchronous like this one is, we would just wrap this in a task and make it async. So async and wrap this in a task of I action result and say on post async. And that's the equivalent of what we had previous, except it's asynchronous instead of synchronous. Again, for posting data, you're probably going to want to have it be asynchronous because of the fact that you don't want to kind of hold your web page hostage while you do work. So let's first check to see if not model state dot is valid. It's going to check the model to see if it's valid. If it's not, return page. What is this doing? Well, it's just saying, okay, the model you're sending in, make sure it is valid, and if not, send it back to the page. Otherwise, we're going to do something with it. Now, what we're going to do with it is we're going to say people.add new person, which isn't really doing anything except for adding it to our new person model. I'm sorry, our list of person model called people. And then what we're going to do is we're going to return and say redirect to page. Now, here's the trick here. When we return page, we're returning the exact same page where you came from, and so the form will still be filled out the same way you left it. But when you redirect to page, it's kind of like a refresh, and it's going to reload and do an on-get async. So it's going to wipe out our change, essentially, which is okay, because normally as we store it in a database, and it would in the on-get async, it'd pull the new value from a database. But we're going to put a breakpoint in here to make sure we see the data coming through. Now, we don't have to redirect to the same page. This is redirecting to the same page. But if we wanted to, we could say /index to go to the index page instead. So it's up to you how you want to go about this. I think I want to stay on the same page just because I want to be there. Okay, I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. And I'm going to run this. Now again, it's warning me that the asynchronous method's not doing anything awaitable, and that's okay. Data demo, first name, last name, create person. Bob Smith and create person. So it got past the model state is valid because is valid is true. The new person, let's look at our locals here and look at new person. Let's make this a little bigger. So new person, Bob Smith. So this property up here, new person, has Bob Smith in it. How does it know to do that? Like this model state here, what are we checking? Nowhere do we say that Bob Smith was our model. Well, it knew that based upon the fact that we were using it inside this form and we said submit. And what we changed is new person dot first name and new person dot last name. So that's what it checked. So this is a pretty intelligent system. We're not sending any information in on post async because it's already here. It's already bound. So all we're doing is checking it and then doing something with it and finally returning the redirect, which I'm going to hit continue. And we're back here. And of course, Bob Smith is not in the list because it refreshed the page and that destroys any changes from the previous iteration, which again is okay It's just for demonstration purposes, but I just want to make sure you realize that it's a totally different page now. All right, so that's a real basic overview of how to send data from your forms over to your post result. I'm returning a task since it's async, and it's an iAction result. iAction result tells the system, were you successful? Did you fail? How did you fail? Those type of things. But if it succeeded, it just returns a 200 saying, you're good. And now let's go ahead and redirect to this new page, or in this case, the same exact page.